What we want to go ahead and talk about today is a really important topic in terms of policing. It's fitness and tactics, because that has changed a lot, especially in terms of what the modern day world is really looking like. So it's an important topic, and we're going to give you as much as we can in the time that we have. But the very first thing is probably going to be you asking the question of why would you even want to listen to us? There is a lot that goes into these topics, and my background is going to be pretty versatile in terms of my specialty being in that fitness side of things. I've been lifting myself for the last 24 years. I started at the ripe old age of 10 years old. And then I spent about 4 years as a 911 operator. So I was in that radio room dealing with police, fire, EMS, everything. And so I got to have a really good overview of a lot of things that were lacking. And it honestly bothered me. So I took all my years focusing on lifting, nutrition, health, and optimization, and decided to switch gears and bring it more towards the coworkers who are supposed to help everyone in their emergencies, prevent the fact that a lot of first responders, no matter what field they're in, a lot of military, a lot of veterans, everybody in these categories is at a much greater risk for health concerns than they should be, especially considering everything that everybody in any of those categories does for the general population. So I want to make sure you guys can prevent your own issues and protect everyone efficiently because you are capable. And then we have Jeff. He's quite accomplished himself, so I'll go ahead and let Jeff take over for his own intro.
All right. Thank you, Alex, for having me on this webinar. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jeff Malek. As you can hear, I have a French accent from France. So if you're not sure sometimes what I'm saying, feel free to ask in the chat if you're not sure to understand. But usually I try my best to communicate the best I can. Yeah, so about myself, I'm from France, from the Basque Country, southwest of France. I'm 33 years old. I have plenty of experience in different kind of world between welding, sports, where I played for 11 years, American football, yes, believe it or not, American football. With the national team, I played European Championship, World Championship, played in Cégep in Quebec, and then in semi-pro in Quebec as well, where we were champions. Many times champions. I was as well a coach, so I know a lot about the human body capabilities and the biomechanics. Following that, I decided to go back in France after my career in Canada to enroll in the military in the French SAS. For those that know that we can compare it to the Delta forces in the US, or in England, the 22 SAS. It's the same, but in French. So it's a special force regiment where my dad served for 20 years. I went through the selections, I learned a lot about myself, learned tactics, learned how to push my body and mind very much. Just so you know, this is a 1 year selection, so you can be kicked out at any time, but you can also decide to quit at any time. So I've seen many guys quitting. Just to give you an idea, we started at 80 and we finished at 8. So just to give you an indication of how much, how intense it is. So this is after that. Right after I decided to go back in Canada, I wanted to try a career as a police officer in a SWAT team. Many things happened. It was in 2018, so I arrived in Canada back again. 2020, started my company. Then we had the gun ban in Canada, which wasn't helpful because I wanted to teach people how to shoot firearms. And then I decided to open my panels of services with boot camps, fitness program, and tactics as well with the CQB. After that, we had COVID, a lot of things, but you see, still alive, went through it even as an entrepreneur. And last year we were officially certified IADLES, which is a big certification in the US that is recognized internationally as well, where we teach law enforcement mainly, and mostly law enforcement, can be corrections, sheriffs, police, the SWAT teams, as well as military, personal. Um, and yeah, aside of that, I also have a ASP certification, which is about using a baton, OC spray, handcuffs, and flashlights. So I keep going to to kind of find a way to translate my knowledge better to law enforcement because I have a military background. Uh, and uh, and yeah, I've been into tactics since a while now, and I decided to kind of a change and open minds to people where tactics can be understood and adapted to save more lives from behind and in front the barrel, if we can say that. Because we are professionals that work with firearms, something that can take a life just like that, but also can go against you if you don't use it well. So I decided to bring and make a different kind of course that teach a holistic uh, way to understand tactics and to operate tactics. But we're going to go deeper into that during the webinar. So thank you again for your presence. I think it's about that. If you have any question about me, the programs or whatsoever, you're going to have a chance at the end to ask questions accordingly. So yeah, thanks again, Alex, and to the two sponsors for making it happen.
Yep. All right. So we do want to thank 98 Octane as well as Northern Valor for sponsoring today. Northern Valor, Canadian owned clothing company. And then you have 98 Octane, nonprofit for military and first responders to get them healthy again. In the chat, we do have Joe Fisher, the director of operations. So if you have specific questions about 98 Octane, feel free to go ahead and pop questions in there. He'll be able to answer them. And then for Northern Valor, friend Jeff over here is one
Yeah.
of the main people involved there. So it's a veteran owned company, and we want to thank both of them. We'll get into more details about them later on. The first thing that we're going to go ahead is talk about why fitness actually matters in the first place. When you are thinking about police officers, there are many, many different expectations that people have. And depending on whether someone views police officers positively or negatively, you're going to have generally two different types. You have your overweight donut eating police officer, or the ones who are really serious about the job. There's not very many people who expect something in between. But one of the big things that you have to ask yourself is, which side of that coin are people going to see you as? Because we want to make sure that when you are responsible for people and their safety, you want to make sure that you can actually hold your own. If someone is going to be committing a crime and you have to go after them, you need to actually be capable enough to catch them. You need to be able to run and handle yourself. And if you're going to be needing to run, it requires you to take care of yourself and train. Then you get into the actual potential issues when it comes to tactics. If your heart rate is at 200 beats per minute and you can't catch your breath and everything, how are you going to deploy any of your weaponry that you have effectively, whether it's lethal or non-lethal? You need to be able to keep yourself ready for whatever's going to come, but you can't know what it is that's going to come. If you're going to be taken to the ground, you need to have the strength to be able to control the person even when you're in a disadvantageous position. So strength is going to be a component as well, not just running. There's a ton that goes into it, but the biggest question is honestly not even what's going to be happening in the short term, it's a long term. If you're going to be a career police officer, the last thing you want to be is that guy who has got his 20 years and he's telling the rookies about, oh wow, I used to be this, I used to be that, back when I was your age I could. And then you can fill in that gap. What you want to do is set yourself up with the knowledge so that when you're there 20 years in and you're helping some rookies out, you're going to be holding your own, and they're going to look at you and say that this is the kind of cop that I want to be in 20 years. You have to try to keep that in mind when you are getting that whole picture. But we can take a look at what goes into all of this, and you can kind of think about it in terms of four major categories. You're going to have the strength side, which is the most visible one, where You have muscle, you're capable of using it, and if you need to put some force into something, you can do that. Size helps. It's not everything, but it does help. And when you think about the components of strength, one of the biggest things that I tell people is that a single muscle's capacity for strength is determined by its size. The bigger the muscle, the more force it can produce. And that's one of the reasons why bigger people are generally stronger. You can look at that in terms of any weight class sport there is. The higher the weight class, the more power, force, strength that they're going to have. It's why you're not generally going to have a lightweight go up against a heavyweight and then have it be a fair fight. Interesting thing to look at that are sports that don't have weight classes. Sumo wrestling is actually a very interesting example of that. Sumo wrestling, there's no weight class. If you weigh 200 and you're going against someone who's 600, you can watch them just go after that 600 pounder, but that 600 pounder is not moving. And then they can just pick up that 200-pound guy and push him out of the ring. So there are ways to use an opponent's strength against them, but sometimes if you're in a bad spot, all you have is your own capability. Then we have the next most obvious one, which is endurance. If you are chasing after someone, you need to be able to chase after them. You have to have that ability to push yourself for longer periods of time. And then you have to then add in the component of making sure you're capable once you reach that end point of that run. And that goes into training for longer distances. But there are two aspects that do not get nearly enough attention when it comes to all of this: nutrition and recovery. Nutrition is going to be really important because it's going to help determine what your body composition is. A lot of people think you can just lift weights and run and then you'll get better and be the best you can be. But that's not really true. The way to look at it is that once your strength training and your endurance training is in place, you unlock the biggest benefits from that training through your nutrition. So I like to put it in terms of numbers, because it's also going to encompass the recovery. Once your training is in place, 30% of your progress is going to come from that training. 50% is going to come from the nutrition that you then use to fuel that training. And then 20% is going to come from your sleep and your recovery. So you can look at this in terms of your grades in school. If you are perfect in your training and you're perfect with nutrition, but you do nothing for your sleep and you're getting thrown around on shifts, at best, you're probably going to get a C. There's no way you're going to get an A or a B. So if you want to get an A or a B, you have to look at every single one of those components. And if you don't do anything for the nutrition, no matter what you're failing, you're not going to be able to get above a 50%. So keep that in mind. Those need to be paid attention to. But today is all about fitness and tactics. So the main aspects of fitness that are going to really be involved in what we're examining today are going to be the strength training. And then we're going to get into some examples of strength training, and we're going to talk a little bit about the others. But the main one thing that I want to really stress is the strength training aspect. And there are about 4 different categories I can simplify it into when it comes to how you organize your own training. The simplest one is just general strength and size. So you can look at powerlifting and bodybuilding and just general weight training as fitting that category. So it's pretty basic. But what I really want to look at is going to be the specific functions and the general functions, because what we are looking at is trying to prepare you for what cannot be prepared for. It's an impossible scenario. So the best thing you can do is think about, how do you organize your training in a way that you are putting yourself into awkward positions and awkward demands. So there are a few things that I will single out. We're looking at, in terms of general functionality training, things like heavy carries, just pressing a bunch of weight. And you'll notice I'm saying just pressing. I'm not saying bench pressing, because overhead pressing is going to be a big component of this as well. Anything where you are pushing forward is going to qualify. And that can even mean pushing vehicles. So it's not even limited to barbells. You can look at strongman and strongwoman training as great examples of general functional training, because they're doing things like grabbing giant stones and tossing them over their shoulders, and they're throwing kegs that are weighing 60 pounds, 16 feet into the air. That is just a general functional capability that police officers could really benefit from having. So you can do that, but there's also more minor examples of this as well. And I really want to highlight grip strength, because you have the potential to be in a close quarter situation, which might even get into hand to hand, which may even get into being on the ground and grappling. And if you're in that situation, control is huge. And grip training is something that I think pretty much every single police officer should do, because if you need to hold on to someone, you do not want them breaking that grip. You want to be able to control it so that you can go ahead and move them where you need to. And if you combine that with training in awkward positions, that's going to give you a really, really strong advantage. Really terrible pun intended, honestly, a really strong advantage when it comes to those unpredictable situations. You can think about how your leverages are going to change based upon where you are in your environment. And we can take another extreme example of this for a sidewalk. If you are ending up in a ground situation and there is a sidewalk, you may end up getting pinned between the road and the lip of that curb for the sidewalk, where you then have no ability to roll or get into leverage. So you have to do is have the strength to be able to manipulate that other person into getting in a position where you can then put them off balance, and then you can try to put them where you were. And that's not going to happen unless you have the aspects of training as well as the physical capability to employ that training in a disadvantageous position. And it's interesting to think about that kind of thing when it comes to strength training, because it is a very undervalued way of analyzing how you strategize your prep for when things go wrong. Now, let's go ahead and highlight those specific things that we were just talking about. We have heavy carries and your specific functions and strong man, strong woman training, that type of thing. So let's go ahead and look at a couple examples of this. In terms of a really practical example of grip training, simply just hanging from a bar, supporting your own body weight, and having to deal with a little bit of swing is going to be surprisingly demanding. But you also got to think about the functions of your forearm and your grip. So here you can see me working pronation. If I'm going to be controlling someone, I don't want them to have to break my strength through my wrist positioning. So I can go ahead and steal a trick from arm wrestlers and train my ability to rotate my hand and wrist to make sure that I break their hand position more efficiently than they can break mine. That gives me the leverage, because if I can control their hand, I can control their wrist. I can then control where their arm goes, which I can then use to pull them off balance, which I can then use to get on top and get into a position of control. And then you can, if you control them well enough, pick your head up and look around and make sure no one else is going to try and jump you. And that means getting into that control fast, which means power. So you train for all of these aspects, and that's going to put you into a much better spot to increase the likelihood that you're going to have the outcome you want. Now, we can also take that grip training into other aspects as well. I'm going to throw in a couple honorable mentions for firefighters and EMTs, where if you're a firefighter, you are going to be deploying some awkward implements and heavy gear. The last thing you want to do is drop it. And if you're going to be an EMT and a paramedic, you're not always going to have a police officer there to control your patient if they, for some reason, get combative. Think about diabetics. Diabetic emergencies can go ahead and get violent because that person is not behaving remotely rationally when their blood sugar is crazy high or crazy low. So you may need to be able to hold on to them and not let go. So grip training is going to be unanimously undervalued in every single discipline when it comes to responding to emergencies. Now, let's talk about the awkward positioning that you can put yourself in and train for. There are some interesting things you can look at, and I want to take a look at the Dinnie stones. This is an example of Chloe Brennan, who weighed 148 pounds and lifted 2 stones of different weights that weighed in total 733 pounds. And I forget the kilos. It popped up there, but I forgot what it was. The point is, that is a ton of weight in an awkward position. And you can train yourself using that kind of a strategy in order to allow you to have strength in weird positions. So you can see with this, I can't do the classic thing that gets taught where you want to have your back nice and straight, neutral spine, putting yourself in a perfect position so that your leverages are going to let you lift perfectly and efficiently. That's not going to happen. And if you then carry that over and do a walk with it, you're going to be pulled unevenly. You're going to be bouncing all over the place. And it's a good way to get yourself a tiny bit of training in positions that are just wonky. So when you are looking at these exercises, it looks really odd. I have one giant farmer's handle in one hand and a kettlebell in the other hand, and I'm trying to stay balanced. I'm fighting spinal positional change that is uneven. I have one side that's wanting to bend, the other side that's wanting to just relax in comparison. So if you can train your spine to resist involuntary changes, that's true core training. And if you're trying to go ahead and think about, again, martial arts and everything, we can take a look at another example of Wing Chun with controlling that center line. If your spine is going to get involuntary pulled and you end up twisting or something that you don't mean to, you lose a ton of leverage. But if you're strong enough to maintain a really stable position where you can make sure you can counteract any opposing force onto you because you've trained it, you're going to go ahead and be able to have control in situations that other people would not. And these are things you can do to your advantage with your own training. It's hard to do it in a way it's going to be a true surprise because you're the one setting everything up, but you could make it interesting. And you can go ahead and have a buddy and you can have them load the weight. And so you don't know what it is and you have to lift it anyway. So you can find ways to put a little bit of that surprise element in there. But the main thing is to recognize the functions you are training for are unpredictable. So disobey the normal rules of weightlifting. Normal rules of weightlifting are essentially going to be an even stance, nice, good spinal position, giving yourself time to set up and giving yourself a really formalized, standardized, repeatable move that obeys all of the biomechanics in a good way. You disobey that, and now you're prepping for the reality of the situations that you may be put into. You go ahead and stick yourself into uneven stances. You stick yourself into uneven balance. And then you try and overcome that in a way that you can predict that when something does go wrong, you're not going to be thrown off center and off balance. It's going to take a little bit of adjustment if you do start to employ some of these techniques. So my biggest recommendation is start slower and lighter than you think you should and build it up over time. You are putting yourself into weird positions, so be safe about it. You can always push it more later on, but you can't take off weight that you've already done. So keep it light, build up slowly, and build up that tolerance and learn how to control your breathing, control your spinal position. So even when it's in what would be called a bad position, you're going to be fine because then it no longer is bad. You've trained for it and it will keep you in a very solid position when your potentially partners and others around you, they may end up getting thrown when you won't. So think about that. Try and put yourself into the position where no matter where you get thrown into, you can stabilize and still act. The endurance aspect is something that I want to touch base on because too many people are caught up in running as being the only real option to train endurance. And I would actually recommend that running be a small part of it. If you are running because of a specific test or a specific time that you have to hit for whatever reason, then you do so. But bring in other aspects. You want to train your body to be capable in many different ways, and running is just one of them. One of the biggest recommendations that I have is honestly to run obstacle courses and do things that put your body into weird positions. You can kind of see a theme in what I've talked about so far. It's put yourself into positions that are not normal. That way, when you get put into that situation you cannot prepare for, it has a greater chance of being something that you have the tools to deal with. So If you are having to crawl under barbed wire, deal with really muddy situations, and run in between various obstacles to jump and climb over walls and do all these other things, that's going to be much more practical for real world scenarios than going on a treadmill and doing a 5K. It's good, it'll get you somewhere, but do other things as well. I would really recommend, especially if you're going to be in a situation where doing weighted cardio. So throw on a weight vest and then try and do the Stairmaster. You do that. I know I got one firefighter client of mine who throws on a 70-pound weight vest and then goes on the Stairmaster to see how long it takes before he just collapses. That is real practical training. So try to do things like that to challenge yourself and get you breathing hard. And it may be a good idea to get a little out of the habit of only looking at things like your run time. Start looking at other things. Like if you want to try a really, really strenuous form of cardio, doing sets greater than 10 on squats, where you are doing them all the way down so that your butt is touching your ankles, and you're doing that for more than 10 and you're doing with heavy weight and you're struggling, you're going to be breathing really, really hard. And it's going to give you a different type of endurance training than just running will. Because there are a lot of different categories when it comes to how you can improve your fitness, your endurance, your strength. And variety is going to be a very good thing to make sure you're ready for as much as possible. And if you can go ahead and make it into different categories of time that you're supposed to be enduring, that'll be a good way to do it. So in the example here, I have doing max intensity for 6 seconds versus 6D seconds versus 6 minutes. Sprinting for 6 seconds, you can go really fast. Sprinting for 60, that's going to be a lot harder. And good luck sprinting for 6 minutes. Now, if you want to get really crazy, try squatting a decent amount of weight and doing that for 6 minutes straight. That's going to give you a totally different workout and stimulus than swimming, sprinting, or anything for 6 minutes. Vary it up, make it interesting. You have a lot of tools at your disposal. Lots of tools at your disposal if you go ahead and seek them out and try to be creative so you can continue to do this for a very, very long time. But I would be remiss if I did not talk about nutrition and recovery. Granted, I could do entire webinars just on these topics alone, but I'm going to give you the highlights so that way you have something to take away from today. When you are talking about trying to prep your body to be as efficient and capable as possible, nutrition can be simplified. It's not perfect, but this is a really good outline. If you go ahead and have at least 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, then you should be able to cap out or at least get very close to your cap of potential muscle growth if you get the training hard enough and responsibly executed enough and programmed well enough, as much muscle as you can possibly get. You want to have carbs because they're going to be your main fuel for your performance. Whole foods are definitely ideal, but not always practical. So have as much as you can, but sustainably. You don't want to have a perfect diet for 3 weeks and then never do it again. Have a good enough diet where you try to go ahead and hit those aspects and then bring in fruits and veggies, try to bring in more olive oil, things like that, so you can have generally better fuel. Then you can have your recovery simplified as well. It's not perfect. Again, there are so many specific individual aspects to these components that it's impossible to give you a perfect look at it. But in the recovery thing, the main thing, and this sucks for everyone in this webinar because you're in most likely the police world, and that's sleep. If you are switching your shifts around constantly, your sleep is going to suffer. Your circadian rhythm is going to suffer. And that is not a good way to optimize your health, your fitness, and your capability. Sleep is the number one thing. There has been a few studies that have been done to look at injury rates and amount of sleep. And to put a very long study short, essentially, if you are getting 4 hours of sleep compared to 8 hours of sleep, your risk of getting injured is, if I remember correctly, 60 something percent greater if you only get 4 hours of sleep. So that's in some ways the number one thing to do for injury prevention, not stretching, not anything else. It's sleep. because you want to make sure you can actually focus on what you are doing. It's really what it goes down to. But you got to take care of yourself mentally too. That is part of your recovery. You can go ahead and find ways for you to decompress, so that way you can actually let yourself relax. How many guys do you think have high blood pressure that are in the first responder field? It's way more than you would actually expect. And a lot of it just boils down to the fact that they are just going, and they never give themselves a chance to sit back, relax, and decompress in a healthy way. A lot of the coping mechanisms for first responders, military, veterans, and everything, I don't think I would call them healthy. Because how many times have you probably heard or even said the phrase after a shift where it's like, holy shit, I need a drink, or yada, 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 something an equivalent in that regard. So keep that in mind. Find ways for you to get healthy outlets, laugh, smile, get help. And you'll notice the last 3 bullet points in here. Like, I hate to read my presentation. I want to have it there to supplement what I'm doing, but I'm going to read you the last 3 things. First thing is get help if you need it. And then get help if you think you might need it, but really get help before you need it. That's going to be one of the biggest things to help keep you safe. And it sounds weird to put the word safe into this regard, but it's true. You want to take care of yourself. You want to take care of other people. You want to be capable, and you want to handle everything. Guess what? You got to also take care of yourself. I love this phrase. You have to put your own oxygen mask before you help others with theirs. That goes for mental health too. We all have stories, people we know, things that we've heard about officers and veterans and military guys doing, we'll say, regrettable final actions. Don't let the fact that you did not let yourself recover get you to that point. So, how do we get officers to take everything seriously that we've talked about so far? And my number one recommendation is to try to make it fun and compete. Seriously, compete. Go ahead, put yourself into a situation where you are put under some stress, probably not a ton of stress, but you are put under some stress to perform at a specific event, competition, meet, show, whatever it may be. But give yourself that extra push and motivation and accountability where you stack yourself up against others. And you can do that formally, or you can do that informally. If you go ahead and you have 3 buddies that you like to go ahead and just BS around with and everything, guess what? Hey, let's go ahead and see who can go ahead and run the fastest 3 miles in a month. Okay, cool. Now you do that and you put a bet to it. And then the next month it can be, all right, let's go ahead and take deadlifting. Let's see who can be the first one to add 50 pounds to the 1 rep max. And you can go ahead and do this in many different ways. You can even have some fun with it and say, all right, we are going to see who can push this car the farthest before they puke. Okay. And that's something I actually used to do during COVID when I was originally using police gyms and everything, but at some point they even closed the police gym. So I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do to work out? What am I going to do? I can figure out calisthenic stuff and I can do push-ups, pull-ups and everything, but legs is tougher. Lunges can only do so much. So I got my girlfriend to go into a parking lot with me. She put her car in neutral and I just pushed it back and forth. And it did become kind of a competition, but this goes to show creativity, fun, getting other people involved. It's a great motivating factor because I can tell you pushing that car sucked, but I had accountability because someone was there and it was my girlfriend. And of course I want to impress her with the fact that I'm pushing her in her car. Find ways to get yourself to push yourself even when you don't want to, because motivation is fleeting and it goes away. So don't rely on it. Motivation is honestly and truly for amateurs, and anyone who is in this field, you cannot afford to be an amateur for very long. And that is why the next bit of this is to honestly understand the stakes and think about everything that goes into this. And in order to do that, you have to understand the tactics. That's where Jeff is going to come in, and he's going to talk all about that tactics. And so if you can combine everything we talked about and how to train yourself physically and you combine that with tactical knowledge, now you are the complete package. So Jeff, take it away.
Hey, quick break. I hope you enjoyed the show. I just wanted to let you know, guys, we're super grateful for your support and listening to us. If you want to help us to maybe enhance the quality of the podcast, to spread the word to more people so we can have maybe other invitees on the podcast, I invite you right now to subscribe and share the podcast, and also leave a review to help the algorithm to help and push the channel. As well, if you want to support us in a different way, you can also buy our merch. Our merch is available. I just put the link below, and you can just represent MLK Abilities to community and support us at the same time. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and let's get back to it. Man, what a presentation! 100% aligned with what you said. So many good points, straightforward, very good example you can actually apply in your training program or preparation, depending where you're at in your career, at the beginning or during, but even after. Man, I'd like to add some points if you don't mind, because I've seen many things, and I have myself. I'm running actually an obstacle course, the largest in Canada, and I know you mentioned it, and that's funny because obstacle course is the most challenging activity, if I can say that, because you have to crawl, you have to jump, you have to climb, you have to bolt and so on, and you can do it with your body weight and or with some gear to replicate the reality, which I did, by the way, with a friend of mine. We created a YouTube video where we go through it with like the plate carrier, the guns, and so on, and you can see that most of the time you're not in the even position. It's not square. You don't have the same weight both ways. The cardio is involved, strength is involved, mobility, everything is involved. So it's a basic, like a reality check for most people. And wherever they're from, whatever is the discipline, it's a very good test. For sure, sleep, very important. I know there is a big mode around, the toughest guy, uh, the special force guy with sleep deprivation and so on. Well, sleep deprivation is made to test you, but just so you know, a lot of people get injured and never come back to the selections because of that. So yes, you're tough because you just sleep 2 hours and go back to work, but it's not smart. On the long term point of view, you won't last more than, I would say, 3 4 years top shape all the time, and at some point the mental aspect gonna start to join, and they're gonna be start to maintain a healthy career, healthy relationships with yourself, but also with others, whatever it's your family, friends, and coworkers. So it's basically what you brought really well is try to keep the balance everywhere, not focusing on one thing only, hoping that it's going to solve all the problems. You have to test yourself. It's basically you have an hexagon, and you want to push all these different corners away, and the best you can. Endurance, recovery, nutrition, the social aspect, and so on, because all that gonna serve you at your best. And this is where I jump in basically with the tactics. So just let me make it ready just for a second. So I'm going to share my screen, which is here. Okay. Where is it? I'm going to find it. I'm going to do it the entire.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see?
Yep, I see it there.
It looks like it works pretty well. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So before I start, just a quick reminder for the late one. So I'm Jeff. I run some MLK Abilities, which is a business related to fitness, tactics, mindset, basically a holistic way to get ready for professionals and civilians, wherever you're from, wherever you want to go. I help you to become the best version of yourself. Today, and it's going to make a lot of sense. That's where you're going to understand that That's pretty cool. That what's the human body and mind is capable to do, especially when tactics are involved. So tactics is not just for law enforcement or military. Tactics is a mix of so many things, and I'm going to explain you what. But it's also strategies. Basically, you have a mission, how to accomplish it the best way possible, using all the tools, the gear, and the body the best way I can. The only barrier there is basically it's the mind, because the mind can collect a certain number of informations, and then it's up to you to be able to deal with them in priorities to accomplish the mission. So by doing so, and I'm going to start straightforward, you have to train. If you never train, if you just look at like Instagram videos seeing guys breaching doors or whatever it is, whatever is the tactic, it won't help you to become better. You have to go and jump in the field, and there is so many ways to do it actually legally, wherever you're from, whatever is the country. By the time you can access some airsoft, at least for law enforcement and military, just find a park where you had it hidden, or a private property where you can do something. There is so many also buildings where you can do airsoft indoors, so you're not seen from the outside, sorry, and there, you don't draw attention because you still have replicas who can be taken as real firearms. So be careful what you're doing, but you don't always need a permit or to shoot live fires to understand the tactics, and this is the beauty of it. So to jump into it, what tactics really are. So basically, tactics, it's the most complex skill that I'm gonna stay in the community of law enforcement and military. That's what makes the more sense, but this is good knowledge for other professions. But basically, this is the most complex one because it involves so many things at the same time. Very few of them actually practice or train, and believe it or not, there is really very few institutions that train. I'm from a regiment which is a special force, and I don't know why. For me, it should be available for everyone. Whatever is your institution, your regiments, your units, you should train like every month. You should train some scenarios, go to the range, shoot, burn some ammo, because there is a lot of people that think they know everything about tactics. They're going to be the first one to tell you, you should go fast, you should go slow, you should do so many things at the same time. You basically have to be like Superman, and it's very easy to judge people till it's time for you to be on the field. So a lot of people say, "Yeah, I'm good at it." Okay, show me. And this is where I see a lot of people being like, "Yeah, but I'll try to find excuses." No, but seriously, show me. There, that's why I like the approach to be open minded. We can all be wrong one day. The goal is to be able to acknowledge your mistakes, and to be able to and willing to learn something new. And basically, your toolbox. You're gonna learn for the rest of your life, whatever you do. And every piece of knowledge or experience is a new tool you add to your box, and then you pick and it whenever you want. You need more to be faster, train faster, slower, train slower, train with a pistol, with a rifle, with a taser. All that is a toolbox you pick, and this is not you that are going to decide how it's going to be. It's going to be the environment. Basically, tactics, it's a decision making under pressure because you have so much to deal with, which are tools, your physical capabilities. It doesn't mean that the day you're going to do some tactics that you're going to have your 8 hour of sleep, a full meal in your belly, and a healthy life, right? It's going to be at the worst time ever. It's called the Murphy law. It happens to everyone at training and on the field in real situation. It's something gonna go wrong, and it's gonna be up to you to address this situation the best way under pressure, because it's a balance of time, space, and threats. Threats, or I would say also subject in a police world, because a subject can attack you, but maybe it's someone you have to save. You don't know till you know. So time, you never really, you can have it forever or not. It can start pretty quickly depending on your decision. Space in terms of building. How much I have to clear? How many cars I have to clear? How many people I have to clear as well in a space defined. And the threat, is it actually very hostile? Is it peaceful? Is it armed or not? Um, all these things are an accumulation of information that you have to be able to process, evaluate, and then take a decision depending on what's the goal and what you can or cannot do, especially as a police officer. And this is where tactics become very prevalent in training. No, people say, yeah, throw grenades, just jump on them, shoot whatever through the walls. As a police officer, all the time you have to react more than you have to act, because you have the law. You're carrying the law with you, and the law asks you to answer a call, which means you have to evaluate your situation and take a decision which won't put you in jeopardy or your department and city in jeopardy because of bad decisions. You react most of the time. That's why you have to be a better shooter, faster, stronger than most of the people, and that's why you're kind of a Superman, because you have to be better than the average. It is what it is. You sign up for that, and if you think you fell a bit, well, you can still go up and become the best version of yourself. There is it's not there is no an expiring date to become a better again. Um, and the goal is to reduce uncertainty and increase control. Okay, because lacking control is very bad. It can ambush you at any time, and you want to be able to control the maximum possible in the situation. The tactics evolve based on many things. The first is distance. VCQB, which means vehicle close quarter battle. CQB, close quarter battle, battle. Sorry, that is mostly in buildings, right, with structures around you. And then you have CQC, which is close quarter combat. Combat, the distance it's basically hand to hand. So firearms are rarely used, and if you use it, it becomes very dangerous. But it's mostly hand to hand. So martial arts, grappling, handcuffing, controlling someone on the ground, and you see how connected it is with what Alex brought before. The distance is understanding like the environment, how to use the environment in your advantage when you are in distance with the person and the subject. Vehicle, for an example, is another structure. It's a mobile structure. You can move or not, but usually as a police officer, you cannot, but you can run around it. You can use the structure of the car to fight back or to position yourself in a position when you are in control, which means most of the time you have to be covered or concealed and be able to communicate what you want the subject to do or not do. Then there's the environment. Is it an urban environment, rural, or open environment? In the military, mostly it's going to be open environments, and sometimes urban, depending on the mission as well. But the environment dictates a lot, which means the distance first, what you have to use as a concealed covering, from where some backhand can come over, from the back, on the size of the threat, all the things. And mostly, and this is part of the fourth rule, safety rules in firearms, always control and be aware of your environment and your target. But the target is fine, but the environment is very much important, especially as a police officer, or in some case with the military, when you have to intervene in a civilian world where you have people around. You cannot shoot anyone. So you have to be careful every time you shoot or you say something, it goes to the right person, but you have to be aware of it. And this is about control. Are you controlling your environment by being aware of the situation? And then the context: vehicle, buildings, low lights, high risk. By high risk, is it a hostage? Is it a bomb? Buildings, like the context, is it just in the building? Is it just in between two buildings? Vehicles, how many vehicles there is around you can use or not? Low light, is it by night, by day? Is it in a building where there is low light, maybe some smoke? All this stuff have an impact on the tactics and raise or lower the level of stress and control. Also, what does it mean more in detail? Let's go deep into that. Again, I'm going to try to be the fastest possible and to be in time, but I'm so passionate like you are, it's going to be tough to keep it in time, but I'm going to try my best. Before responding to tactical intervention, often connected to stress, extreme stress, it is critical to understand the key components that allows you to act deliberately to stay alive and accomplish the mission. Tactics goes far beyond simple hide and seek scenarios because it's not just about that. It's about the environment. It's about the biomechanics, your human behavior, the gear and equipment you can or cannot use. It's the CQB, VCQB concept, or this is an open environment. And there is three type of battles, right? There is the mission, especially as law enforcement. The mission, the 5%, which is the gunfight when it happens, but the longest one and the most terrible one is the legal justice battle, including jurisdiction and the laws, where you have to explain yourself. Why did you act this way? Why did you use that tool instead of this one? And for that, you have to be very much aware of who you are, what you're capable of physically, mentally, if you're capable to use your gear accordingly, and why did you choose to shoot or no shoot, or you to use that gear or not? Where basically the law gonna say, you could have make it better. We can always do it better, but the only way to help out for that part is to train in different scenarios. How this is the exact same thing that Alex brought before. You want to be good, like being a holistic athlete. Basically, to be a first responder, you have to be an athlete that is holistically good. You have to be good at endurance, strength, mobility, and so on. Well, this is the same. You cannot just be good at VCQB, fighting around a car. Maybe you have to know and understand how to use some tactics in a building, or how to use some techniques when you go in CQC a situation where you have to handle the guy and so on, and how to handcuff someone the proper way, because especially nowadays, the first thing that the people around going to do is take their phone and tape the whole scene, and it's going to be hard to prove the opposite when you see something like it's tough to we are not in your head. We don't know the amount of training you receive, the tactics you understand, the strategy you have, and so on. So on the videos, this is just like the pure reality, and you're going to be judged on that. And if you're capable to explain the why behind the word, the images and the videos, well, you're very much in control of yourself, your environment, and your decisions. So that's very important to understand these and to train them for sure. So you must train as a thinker. I don't know if you know, but be a thinker before a shooter. It's cool to be a cowboy and to be able to shoot many targets as quick as possible. But do you know what you're shooting, why, and how? This is the same for tactics. Do you know why you use this concept instead of this one where it's not appropriate? Right. So you can be the best at one thing, but if it's not appropriate or it doesn't fit the context or the situation, you're out of your mind, and it's gonna play against you. So I hope it helps. We're gonna go through more details in this in the next pages. So first of all, the biomechanics, and this is where we have a direct connection with Alex, is understanding your body. Balance and base equal stability. Being able to be stable, especially when you have to carry some gear, even as a firefighter. Let's say you trip or you see a hole, you fall in it with all the gear. You need to be able to handle the gear, or maybe you have to drag someone out of somewhere with the gear on your back. So you have to work on balance and base, understanding the basic of the body. The kind of the pyramid and triangle of the body to keep you balanced. Back in front, back, and on the sides, and laterally as well, twisting and so on. That's why it's very important to work the body on every aspect, all directions. Economy of motion equals speed. If you understand how to move, how to lift, the biomechanics, how the body works to use the full ability of your body, you earn and gain time, because and you're faster as well in some situation when time is very can be critical. And then the structure is the structure of your body. Being strong is important. It's important to be able to just carry the gear you have, which it can add up very, very, very quickly and with a lot of weight at some point, especially in the military. But that's why I tell people during our courses that you have to place yourself accordingly to not jeopardize yourself, or even telegraph your position. Telegraphing means you're seen or you're heard from a subject that is inside the door without you seeing them. So they are capable to spot your position or to know where you are without you knowing where they are. So they become proactive and you become reactive. So all this stuff helps you to be in control and to not give away your position, but also being able to take proper action in good time. Under stress, and this is where it becomes interesting, under stress, the fine motor skills degrade. If I give you, I like to mention a good example for stress. Let's say you have to save a hostage inside a building, and I give you, hey, you have 30 minutes to save that person. Fine. And then you start to investigate the building and so on. And then I give you a radio call and say, now you have 2 minutes. It won't be the same, obviously, right? You're going to start to stress. You're going to start to think, okay, what's the best strategy? Maybe you have to change it. And then you may skip some very important steps that are going to keep you alive, which is related to the balance and the base, the economy of motion, the structure. You're going to make maybe more mistakes because you're rushing. So all that is important to train, and you can only know it by training. And most of the time, when it's happening in reality, a lot of people die or get injured. And that's the reality. It's because of lack of training. And I can tell you what, just to give you an example, we are in touch with different departments in the US. And one of the sheriff, when they told me, that's true, we never train tactics, even in buildings, or very few around vehicles. Because most of the guys are on the road, and it's very rare during a career that an officer have to intervene in a building. But every time it had to happen, it was a mess, and it was a mess with me. It was like many casualties. The city was not happy of our performance, and we didn't know how to explain what happened and how we can improve because we didn't know anything about tactics. And he understood that this is something he has to invest in but first of all, to keep his agents alive, but also to serve the public accordingly. Because in the end, you are serving the public, right? And under stress, position becomes critical. Basically, tactics, it's the art of movement and placement. So understanding your position, where to place yourself, what type of like prone position, stand position, knee position, what's the best, understanding all that, being a corner and a threshold behind two walls, behind a furniture, understanding that is very critical because basically we come back to a hide and seek, but it's not just about that. And if your body is inefficient, your tactics will fail. So that's that's very tough to bring on the table, but because we live in a world right now where law enforcement is not as top shape as it used to be and as it should be. And most of people go through the selections or through the test saying, okay, I'm going to be the best at this time of my career. And then they let themselves go. No, the test is to test you if you're capable to be a police officer for the next 20 years. And so you have to keep the standards. And unfortunately, in some institution, they don't keep annual tests about physics, and that's the issue. Shooting is fine, but shooting I would say 95% of law enforcement will never shoot. So you have more chances to actually fight physically than actually shoot someone. So that's why it's very important to stay fit and to understand tactics. Now, human behavior. That's one that is very much underrated and not really brought in most courses. We think that it's cool, you have guns, and most of the time we practice against paper targets. The issue is paper targets don't shoot back, they don't speak, they don't talk back, they don't throw you things, they don't go hand to hand against you. They are here, they're predictable, even if it's someone else that placed them in it, right? And most of the time we train into a cleared room where there is no furniture. And this is not the reality. This is usually the opposite. So automatic reactions, first of all, the reaction. And this is where it brings back to understanding your body and being capable to use it to be fast and efficient. Because the human body is has some limitation. Unfortunately, training can just uh, reduce that time frame to react, but most law enforcement have to react. As I say, they're not acting and taking action to shoot someone. They react to a gun pointing at them. And in this case, this is seeing, understanding, deciding, and then acting. And the body can react very quickly. We talk about zero point 0.2 to 3 seconds up to zero point 0.8. But once you have the law on your back, you have a firearm, the weight, the stress, the subject, the communication, all that add up and stacked up to a point where you have 1.5 seconds reaction time. And this is the average in law enforcement, which is a lot of time, especially if you have to withdraw and shoot, or maybe to send a fist in the face, right? So all that accumulates. And the more you train and you understand, the lower can be that time of reaction. Now there is the fight, flight, or freeze. This is a reaction that you can only, and I say only, understand and know if you train and put yourself in stressful situation. It doesn't have to be a mess. It can be very structured and under control. But this is very important to test yourself to be able to see if am I a fighter, a freezer, or if I just run away when I'm in a stressful situation, even though I know my responsibilities and my duties. Um, it's like the guys that go in the military or the police and say, "Oh yeah, no problem to kill someone. And if I have to shoot someone, fine." Well, you don't know till you have to actually do it, because you don't know who it's going to be. You don't know what you're going to use, and you don't know if you're going to be able to or not, depending on the consequences behind. So all the things you have to train, but there is some things that are just a surprise, and you're going to be able, and we hope never understand and experience in the real life. Tunnel vision, I think it's pretty common in many situation as well as sport. Tunnel vision is dangerous. You can be drawn by something, someone, some words, and then turn and just focus on this when actually the most important part in the room is happening elsewhere. You're not paying attention. So this is very important to understand, and you can just train. You can just understand and train on it by training and put yourself in situation. Time distortion. Time. I can tell you what. When we tell people, okay, you have 5 minutes to react, usually it takes the double, if not the triple, because you lose time track. It's very tough to understand that to maintain, and it's not time to actually. Well, time is a luxury. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't, and it's not you that decide. This is the environment and the scenario. Whatever is said, whatever is the tool you can use or not, and how you train can give a better chances to survive and to act quickly and effectively. Then there is the performance behind the reality. It's default to training, which means we do not rise to the level of our expectation. We fall to the level of our training. Okay, so that's what I say. Yeah, I watch YouTube videos, I watch reels. I'm sure I can do that. Well, in the reality, you're gonna fall back to you, to who you are and capable. Like it won't be that video that's gonna give you an extra power, or how you say that, or maybe you're gonna think you're gonna be able to do it, but it won't happen. This is you living in the dream if you think like this. You have to train. You have to put yourself in this situation to understand, because, as I say, the Murphy law gonna hit you at the worst moments, and there's nothing you can do against it. You will have to reload. You will have to shoot someone. You will have to manage two people instead of one person. All the things gonna happen, and it's gonna fall off the level of your training. Optimal stress is equal to optimal performance. Which means by optimal stress is like, if you can handle stress, manage it, understanding the tools, the solution, the strategy to maintain and control that stress, you're going to have an optimal performance behind good decisions, good time reaction, and so on. So the stress is a good thing. It's a thing that is made to keep you alive. You can it can be translated by fear. So someone that say they're not afraid, well, I'll tell you what, they're a psychopath or they are not healthy at all. Every I'm gonna take the highest, but every special force guy are afraid. Before a mission, you're afraid. You're thinking about your family and all the things. If you don't come back alive, what are going to happen? And what if I get shot? And all these things are fears. And if you're not afraid, you're not human. We're still human, and the human behavior is very important into tactics, because this is what are going to dictate so many things. And unfortunately, it's not something that is really taught during most of the courses through units. Uh, Control and decisions, composure and breathing. This is very important. I'm going to give you another example here. During trainings, we always have people, especially when they start working together, where communication, biomechanics, and human behavior are merged all together. And they're like, okay, what do we do? And they're like, basically, there is a 4 error in the brain. Is like, what's going on? There is a glitch. And I always say, hey guys, just take a second and take a deep breath. And I do it with them. And then you have so many ideas coming back again and say, okay, let's do this and that. That's a simple thing you can do in stressful situation, taking a deep breath in and out, because you need oxygen to function. So the brain is a muscle. It's like any other muscle. You need to bring oxygen to it to be able to process information, take right decision, and not losing time. Communication and de-escalation. This is also related to composure, where I see a lot of people, they are the best at yelling at people. Yeah, go on the ground, drop it, on your knees, blah, blah, blah. Why do you talk to them like this? There is a time to yell at them, and there is a time to talk to them as a respectful human being. Even though they are the worst people on earth, your goal is to control someone else. Put yourself in their shoes. Would you like to cooperate if I, insult you, or if I yell at you all the time and you don't understand, and there is two other police officers next to me yelling the same thing? No, you won't. Especially the baddest guy that just want to confront it and see, hey, who's the baddest, right? So no, you don't want to do that. You want to de-escalate by bringing down the tone of your voice. Hey, put your gun down. I don't want to hurt you. Turn around. Just trust me. It's going to be all right, and so on. Basically, you have to become a negotiator at the same time. So talk to them respectfully, like you would like to be talked to, even if they are the most bastard on earth. They deserve to be beaten up, whatever it is. It's in your advantage to talk to them as a human being, because this is part of your human behavior. If I insult you, you will insult me back, or you won't respect my commands, and so on. So bring what I like to do and say, if they don't want to cooperate, you can just send warnings and say, hey, I don't want to shoot you, but if next time you don't do what I asked you to do for the best of everyone, I will need to use the force to shoot you, to give you other orders, whatever it is, depending on the situation. You can just escalate or de-escalate depending on your need. And it's going to show two things: professionalism, especially if there's people around, and especially like your colleagues, but also it's going to bring you more control. If you're a control human being that is capable to stay I don't know how to say that in English, like composed, I guess, composed. It shows professionalism. You're in control. So I want to trust you. It looks like, man, you're handling a big situation. I'm going to respect you this way. Believe me, sometimes just take a word, a way to express something or to someone, and the situation turn into your favor. And then there is the shoot, no shoot decision. This is the toughest one. When is it time to shoot at someone? Even though sometimes they have a firearm, a weapon, whatever it is, shooting is not always the good decision. As I said, this is 5% of the mission. The longest battle is after the shot. Why did you shoot that person when you could just talk to them? Yeah, you have to explain that in front of a judge or your boss or your chief, whatever it is. You have to give some explanation behind this. And this is the terrible one to do. So be careful when you're about to shoot. Understanding firearm handling is very important as well. Let me see. Yeah. Okay, last slide, and then we should be done. Thank you guys for your patience, and hopefully it's good information. But the last one is environment and the integration of all that. The environment, basically, in tactics, it's whatever is the structure: cars, vehicles, open field. You got to play with angles, lights, no lights, space. I didn't mention it, but smoke or no smoke, depends. Structure, building or car, known, unknown spaces. Sometimes you don't know everything. Sometimes you know, and you can apply tactics or concept depending on what you know and don't know. The number of subjects: bad guys, good guys, how many? Kids, adults, animals, no one. Remember something, guys, very important. When nothing is happening, this is information. People think that when nothing happened, this is not relevant. This is not true. When nothing is happening, it's information, and you can still use it in your advantage. Tempo, slow, fast, or both. What I mean by both is like like a normal pace, I would say, or sometimes you have to be slower, sometimes faster, depending on the information you collect. The tactics reality, it's very limited information. Most of the time, as a law enforcement or police officer, you're going to have one radio call saying there is the subject into that buildings. He's known under this person or not. He's under drugs or not. He's armed or not, and deal with it. And unfortunately, you have most of the time, especially in North America, you have to act alone. You don't have time for backup. It has to be right here, right now, with the limited information. So it's up to you to be able to collect this information to build something stronger, a bigger structure, to be able to decide what is the right concept I should use or switch depending on what I learned. And then the high consequence decisions. Everything you're going to do or say have a big impact in the actual situation and post situation when you have to explain yourself. So be aware of your environment, of yourself, of your body mechanics, of your mindsets, of the way it goes in your mind. Being able to put them and withdraw them and use them at the right time in the right moment is very important. And the only thing you can do is to train. And just to bring something about training, it's the same as you need to train physically. Compete. Bring some guys, say, hey guys, who's going to be the fastest one to save that person or to put down that subject over there? You arrive with a car, take the gun, okay, you clear the angles, boom, 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 or not. And being able, and the one that doesn't kill the person wins, for an example, right? So try to compete each other with each other, and that's the best way to train and to actually also give some feedback. And I'm going to give you something very important as well. That's why it makes it easier and better when you train with others. But before that, to close that slide, the tactics is equal biomechanics plus human behavior plus environment. And this is what makes a holistic skill. Train simple, realistic, repeatable. Control what you can, adapt to what you can't. So I hope it makes sense. Now, something very important as well, and we don't really see even in the institutions, it's alarming in my opinion, but you can very well train this way, is you can go crescendo. You start by yourself with empty rooms and so on, then you start to train against targets. Starting targets, there is no feedback, there is no interaction, but you can build it slowly, because believe it or not, sometimes we train versus targets. They're so stressed, they don't even see the targets. And they finish to clear the room and I say, there is a target right here. And they're like, oh, geez, I didn't see it. No, because you're in the tunnel vision, you're already stressed. So go crescendo. Don't put yourself in a situation where you have to deal with 3 people at the same time. This is not a good idea. It's like trying to bench press, like, 300 pounds when you just did it one time one day with 80 pounds. You're going to crush yourself and it won't be good for you. Your confidence and moral going to go down and you're going to be, fuck this, I don't want to do that anymore. It's too tough, whatever it is. So start slowly and crescendo. Now, the good thing with force and force is, first of all, you work with a community, especially if you are in the same kind of a job between police officer, for an example. You know how most of the subject going to react, so you play you can do play role better and more realistically. Because when you do force and force, first of all, this is a moving target. This is a rational decision you have to take or not take. Human interactions, you can talk to them, you can ask them to put their guns down, turn around, go on the ground, whatever it is. There is a feedback as well. The feedback is, okay, how was my performance from your point of view? What should I have done better? What did you see when I was in that threshold or behind that angle? Right? All these things are valuable skills, valuable information you can use and reuse afterward, and you don't have to tape yourself all the time. If you can tape it at the same time, that's even better. And realistic role plays and analysis of different point of view is what is brought in force and force. So I really, guys, ask you, and that's why we use kind of airsoft or training platform with you with simulations where you can fight back without injuring anyone, and it hurts enough to not want to be touched or shot at. So I really advise you to do so. Uh, so that's about how we do our training. About the training, so just so you know, to conclude these slides and before answer your question, you can start to write this question. We're going to pick them in the chat. About MLK abilities, our CQB, it's called LP-CQB, which is limited penetration. So it's kind of a deliberate. We also do some dynamic as well and semi-dynamic, but our courses are certified ILS NCP. So it's a big certification in the US, recognized internationally as well. Operational movement system, which is another course where basically we teach you how to move with gear or vaulting, climbing, crawling effectively without getting injured, or using your best, the best of your physical abilities, and moving fast and easy, especially when you have to run after guys and when you have the gear or a belt, it's in the way. So how to go through environment with the equipment. Shooting training, of course, and some boot camps and mindsets. If you're getting ready for some selections process, we go through boot camps over 2 days, 2 nights, and we push you mentally, physically into your boundaries and try to break you basically. But it's for your best, because the more you go into the discomfort zone, the more you learn about yourself and you can push limits. So this is how we do with exercise you cannot find in the civilian world because of my experience in the military, and it give you a glimpse of how it looks like in the selection. So this is everything we offered. If you'd like to learn more, contact me afterward, or you can ask questions. I'm not here to sell my product only. It was mostly to give you some information about what we do, what can it impact you in your everyday life, not just as a tactician or operator, but as a human being overall, to be a better dad, a better friend, a better member of your community. Leading by example is very important in this kind of jobs, and even in life in general. You want to be seen as an example, as someone we can rely on. So thanks to Alex to bring the very complete and slides and information about the physical aspect that gonna match with everything, not just tactics, but strategies and social skills, and all that is a very holistic way to see and approach tactics to become a best version of yourself and a better professional. So that's about it for my part.
So I do want to add one little aspect, because there's an interesting thing you were talking about, which is the review process after an incident does happen. And I remember this training that I had from a sergeant who was going into an interesting amount of detail about like negotiations and everything. So if you are on the phone or in person with someone who is in a in a rough spot, and you are the person who ends up being the main person that ends up getting reviewed and all that, he showed us this example of this officer who, for the first time ever, had to talk someone off of jumping off a bridge. And we got to see the whole conversation. Watch it. It was a 30-minute process back and forth between this officer and this guy who was threatening to jump. But the interesting thing is that at the end, the officer did end up getting the guy off, and they were talking and everything, and it was friendly, and it ended well. But the fascinating thing is that afterwards, the officer who was involved in this went to the guy who was doing the training and he's like, please review this, go over everything. I don't know what I did right, what I did wrong. I want to know how to improve. And I remember distinctly that the sergeant started doing all that, and then he realized, wait a second. And then he crumpled up his notes, tossed it away, and went back to the officer and he said, listen, this was an impossible to prepare for situation, and you had a positive outcome. These things are a lot of times outcome dependent upon whether or not you did well or not. And you had a positive outcome. You did the right thing for that particular situation. You did well. And it's an interesting thing to look at that. So when people stress and worry about the review process, it can sometimes be paralyzing to them. And then they don't
Yes.
act when they should because of the fear of that review. A lot of times you can get a little bit of wiggle room as long as the outcome is positive. So you got to think not for the review and then fearing the review. You have to think about the outcome. And if you can do your best to maximize the chances of a positive outcome, then you've done what you can. And now you have to commit to what it is that you are doing. So keep that in mind too, because that's the thing, that's an underrated aspect that not enough people bring up.
That's very true. And you remember when I say that most people don't see the target when we go through the clearing room with targets first? Is because they are so, first of all, focused on their footwork, the biomechanics, but also I'm next to them watching them. And they're like, they want to do well.
Yeah.
They have a kind of a pressure. Even if I tell them, I'm not here, I'm just watching, and I'm gonna do a quick debrief with you, I'm still here. Even if I try to hide, they are so stressed and they don't see the target. It's right in front of them. Believe me, it's right in front of them. They don't see it because of that pressure. That's a very good point. And you know, it gets better and better with training and repetition. After the first one, they never redo that mistakes anymore, and it goes like very well. So very good point as well.
Cool. All right. So with that, it's time to, again, officially thank the sponsors. But here we're going to give you a little bit more about them. So the first one is Northern Valor. And Jeff can speak more about this, but that is a Canadian veteran-owned company giving clothing. But I want to specifically mention that I have a favorite piece as I'm looking at their websites and everything. And there is a semicolon like hoodie, a piece of clothing with like a cat on it and everything. And it's all about bringing more attention to that mental side that people don't talk about enough, but it's just a fun way to do it. And so I just want to shout out that particular piece of clothing because I think it's fantastic. And so Jeff has gone ahead, and because of the webinar and everything, you guys can get 15% off of an order of $50 or more. Code is right here on the screen, Pro15. But Jeff, if you want to say a little bit more about Northern Valor, this would be a perfect time.
Yeah, thank you. We created that with Matthew, which is also a veteran from the same regiment I was. It was a sniper for 15 or 17 years. He has PTSD, unfortunately, but he's healthy. He's a good guy, and he really cares about community and helping more people. He's very generous, and we decided to create that brand to bring awareness with, to mental illness and so on, and especially PTSD and semi-coma is obviously a very common sign. Bring awareness around it. We also have the other one which says you matter, with the semi-coma as well, more for men. So with the cat one is for women, but anyways, we try to offer something for both genders, and it's in a fun way, but also serious to bring awareness. People really love it. And we, that's why we created that. It's tough to run all these, but if you guys can share about it and support, that would be awesome, because we plan to give that money back to some organization and association supporting mental illness and PTSD cases and so on.
Yep. And then we have 98 Octane. So again, if you guys are in the chat, you can go ahead and talk to Joe, the director of operations. He's in the chat helping us out with this webinar, doing a little bit of the behind the scenes while Jeff and I are presenting. So first off, thank you to him personally. But
Yep.
I do want to shout out 98 Octane themselves as an organization, because they're trying to do something that is really difficult, and that is help military, first responders, and veterans. This is a population that we are all familiar with, and we all know how hard it is sometimes to ask for help or receive help. So 98 Octane is trying to make it easier and more approachable. So if you want to get more information on that, 98octane.org is the website. And you can also check out more snippets if you want to get some short form content. The Instagram is growing, so we want to give us some attention there. So thank you to them. We have a couple items from the raffle that is actually provided by 98 Octane as well. So we're going to start that now. But first off, just thank you for honestly just caring. There is a unfortunate tendency for people, not just in the first responder military world, but just in general these days, to get complacent and look for instant gratification. And if you are in this webinar and you're paying attention to what we are saying, then you understand that there is importance in looking to how you are going to be in the future. So you're caring enough to do something, and we appreciate that because we've been there in our own ways. PTSD and everything, I'm quite familiar with. It is not fun. So it's something that I had to also get over with, that temptation to be that person who is always the one that does the helping and is not the one getting helped. So I do need to shout that out there right in a way. But we have some ways to give some thanks to you in addition to just saying the words. For me, I'm going to be giving 30-minute session to talk to anyone who is watching this webinar for anything that they want to talk about. If they want to just question me about some weird strength training movements, that's fine. If you want to learn more about coaching, that is also fine. But in the raffle, we have a few different options there. And one of them is actually going to be getting a free month of coaching with me, because I'm trying to do what I can to give back and make it approachable. So we have from 98 Octane some stickers. We've got a magnet or two that we're tossing in there. You have the month of free coaching from me, and then Jeff has a couple of things that he'll say also.
Yeah, for me, nothing crazy, but it's patches. So I have one. I don't have it right now with me, but there is one MLK Abilities with the thin blue line in the center. And I'm gonna send a set of patches, which is great. Multicam. Um, also, it's OD green and black multicam. Nothing crazy, but just something to represent and so on. Is there an issue with the meeting?
Nope, that was me just accidentally copy pasting the wrong thing. I was so ready to put in the link for the scheduling for me, and then I accidentally put in the link for the meeting itself.
But
I'm
yeah,
stressed.
so just to come back at it, as I said, the 15% on the website. You can buy anything from MLK Abilities, Northern Valor, and Okanagan Wars Adventure. So everything you pick gonna be in the same, gonna be eligible for the 15%. So it's not just for Northern Valor. We try to merge everything, and the patches, as I say, going to be in the gift pricing prices, and yeah, I mean, I'm very accessible. So if you need to talk to me, I'm available on social media. I will do it at the end after. I don't want to crisscross the schedule, but I'm very accessible. Ask me question about gear, tactics, and I kind of try my best to answer you the fastest possible. We also have a podcast, so you can learn a lot about it. And this episode, this webinar, are going to be on the podcast as well if you need to re-listen to it. But again, I'd like to mention something about PTSD and the consequences of the missions and the why we do it. All this knowledge is to give you the best chances to survive, not just physically, but mentally. Because if you're under control, you know what you're doing and so on, you avoid big mistakes and big consequences that are going to affect you, because the job you do as a first responder, first responder is already very stressful and very demanding. So the more you're in control, the more you have knowledge and so on, the best it is for you, not just during the moment, but for the rest of your life and it's going to impact yourself, but also your community and family. So take that knowledge for apply it as an application for your overall life. So yeah.
Okay. So I think it's time to draw for the raffle. So what
There
I've
you
been
go.
doing while this has been going on is I've put everyone's name who is still in here into a random generator. So with that in mind, I'm going to spin this little thing, and we have,
Oh, the
yep, the winner is Mark Kislick.
there you
So
go.
Mark Kislick, you've gone ahead and won the raffle. So congratulations. Considering that you said something a minute ago and you said thank you, you're welcome, and you went ahead and won. So what I'm gonna do is say, Mark, just send me an email. My email is right there on the slide right there, alex@adaptablestrength.com. And just we will connect outside of here to get you everything that you've won.
Yeah.
So that'll make it easier for that. And congratulations. Should be an interesting time.
Yeah, congrats. And by this time, don't leave too early. Maybe you have any question. It's time to ask question to both of us, unless you have anything else you want to bring, Alex. But yeah.
So one question I'm going to say that I often get while you guys are debating about whether you want to type something or not is supplements. People all the time get caught up in like, okay, well, if I'm going to work out, like what pre-workout do I need? If I'm going to be doing this, then do I need to take that? And when it comes to being a first responder, the biggest thing that happens is you look for the easy thing because you're overworked, underpaid, and you have too much going on. Supplements are supplementary. What you are better off doing is trying to find ways to improve your sleep, improve your food quality, get a reliable training plan, whether it's going to be predominantly strength training, endurance, a mixture of both, whatever it is, it has to be something. Go for the basics first before you go and try to find something that is supplementary. It's the reason why they're called supplements. They can give you at most an extra 5% of a bonus. When if you look at nutrition, that's going to give you 50% of a bonus. So what are you going to try and invest more in? The $300 of 5 different pills that give you 5%, or a $300 grocery bill that gives you 50%? I would say you're better off going towards that grocery bill.
Mhm. Something I like to ask about the food is, unfortunately, and I'm sure you know it, it's a business thing, right? And, and they try to produce more and sell it cheap, and but when it's cheaper, it doesn't mean it's good either. Like it's gonna be cheaper in nutrients. So supplement is a big word. It's not just whey or prots or proteins and whatsoever. It's also D vitamin, very, very important, if not the most important. Potassium, magnesium, all these things going to help you to have a better sleep quality, and obviously going to improve your mood and energy level in the next day. So I personally was not really into that. I was like, yeah, just buying good and quality organic food going to do the job. But no, it's not enough, because the quality of the food, even when organic, the soil is not as rich as it used to be, because sometimes they don't rotate the crops and the fields, and so it's losing the nutrients that you're supposed to ingest when you ingest the food. But the food nowadays is not the same. Maybe you can like harvest yourself, but it's not the luxury for everyone. It takes time, energy, and so on. You need space. So supplements are very important, and you don't have to take like 50 different pills. If you can focus on magnesium, potassium, D vitamin, um,
Fish oil would
well,
be another one that I recommend.
yes, K2, and so on, that's enough. For an example, I have maybe 10. In 2 shots, it's done. I have my stock for the day, and I see an improvement in my energy level. So if it helps you to understand how it works, I would say go with it. Go with it. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. But you see, the thought process behind what Jeff is saying is thought out. It's looked at. It's not
Yeah.
blindly saying, all right, so if I want to get big, I got to take these 7 different supplements from this one favorite brand because my influencer that I've never met before, but I've deemed my best friend, sells it, and therefore it must be like, you got to understand why. And if you can understand the why, then you can make informed decisions, and then you can be smarter about what you put your money towards. And that should give you a good way to analyze your choices. And to give you an interesting example is that for me, I don't even have any caffeine. I don't take pre-workout. I don't do any of that stuff. And if you've looked at my Instagram and seen how hard I train, people see that and they find out that I don't take caffeine and pre-workout and they freak out. And it's really weird to have people think that you can only train that hard when you have a supplement in your system. It's not needed. Look at the why, look at what is actually going to give you benefit, and then make informed decisions, because that's going to save you money, effort, time, energy, everything.
Something about caffeine is what I never drink coffee, and I know it's a thing in law enforcement, first responder, and military, but caffeine has to be taken in the right amount at the right time of the day. I don't take any other supplement. Has state agreement. I try to stay natural because we're enough capable without any boost or whatever. And I see a lot of people taking some Red Bull or Monsters, all these kind of shortcuts products that have an effect right away. Basically, it's like dopamine. Basically, you want it right now, right here. Well, you have to build it on the long term with the proper food, the supplements, and so on. That will have an impact long term. Your body gonna get used to it, and the performance is gonna be way better than a shortcut, taking a drink or whatever before training or shift, and then after you're gonna have a crash. But that crash is not just momentarily; you're gonna have an impact because every day you're gonna do the same thing. So every day, if you put some crap in your body, you're gonna become a piece of crap. This is the truth. Put some shitty gas in your truck won't last 10,000 kilometers. Put some good oil and some good gas in it. It's gonna last with some maintenance and using it. That's yeah, 98 octane only. You see, it basically you treat yourself as a car. That's weird to say, but if because a lot of people like really care about their cars and the physical things, material stuff. If you take care of them, they're gonna last. But your body is your temple. You want to take care of it. You want to clean it. You want to build it. You want to make it stronger. And especially because with age, we are losing most of it. So you basically you are staying better. I mean, you try to keep yourself good despite you getting older. And if you don't, and I heard something very interesting. I heard that passing a certain age, if you don't move or do anything for a week or two after a certain age, it takes you a year to get back to the shape you used to be 2 weeks before. And that's
So
huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of nuance that goes into that.
Yes, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But a lot of what you're saying is true, but I can simplify it and tell you the way aging works and affects your body physically is very simply put, if you don't use it, you lose it. And a lot
Yeah.
of things are surprisingly direct. And I'm going to give you a stat that is probably going to be concerning for some of you guys here who have, parents or friends that are older or anything along those lines. And that is the average lifespan of someone who is in their elder years after a fall that causes them to like break their hip is about a year. Being active and taking care of yourself and making sure you are physically capable is not something you only do when you're working and competing in your 20s, 30s, 40s. You have to continue it all the way into the elder years, because with that freedom and that capability, you actually will get quality of life and longer life. And simply put, do you really want to be that person in the nursing home who cannot stand up under their own power because they don't have the leg strength? And that person has lost all independence.
Mhm.
versus someone who does train. And can you do you want to be the stud of the nursing home, walking around and talking to everyone there and being that social butterfly? That person is going to live so much longer and better than
Mhm.
that person who cannot stand up on their own.
Very true. Um, yeah, it's very, very well said. And again, the thing, we live in an extreme world where it's one on another. We don't say you have to be a beast all the time. Uh, you just have to be capable. You actually,
Mhm.
especially when you become an elder or in an age where you may be less active, you still need to remain active to be able to accomplish the basic task. Where you see most of the elders, they're not capable to take someone to grab something on the ground. It's concerning, and then you become dependent on someone else or something else or a system. We talk about basic movement. We don't ask you to be I don't know, Olympic athletes, whatever is the discipline. Um, you know, maybe you're very impressed by Alex's performances, or maybe mine because of my background. Well, there is a small percentage of people like this. We're here to help people to understand that everyone is capable, but we don't ask you to become a world champion in powerlifting or a special force. We just give you the tool to be better than the average. And unfortunately, that's sad to say, the average is not very hard to go above, right? To beat. So good, it makes a good excuse to start and do the job. Uh, but yeah, it's very easy as well to fall in the other part where it's like, yeah, well, I won't train. It takes me too much time, energy. Well, but you're buying yourself an insurance for life.
Mhm.
And this is something you cannot buy anyway. I mean, you can buy it through a membership if you really need to, but you buy it by time, investing time in it and energy, which is going to save you time in the future and bigger bills for medical treatments or being in the hospital or whatever it is because you didn't feed yourself the proper way or didn't move the proper way. So it's an insurance that is way cheaper than paying to an insurance company. You can reinvest it into your family directly and in yourself. So
Yeah.
I hope it's taken this way and not in the way that, hey guys, be like us, and then that's it. No, no, no. Be the best version of yourself. You're unique, and just try your best. And we're just here to guide you and accompany you. And again, Alex, I don't know you very well, but I can see you have a lot of humility, and you're very easy to access, and your knowledge and the way you share information. Don't put yourself over anyone else. And this is the same for me. I don't pretend to be anyone. Uh, I think Samuel can talk about it. I think he left a message. He followed the course. He can tell you that we were very approachable. Um, we don't think we are cowboys or whatsoever. We just bring, our goal is to help you. So yeah, that's how you should, and I hope you take it.
Yep. So that is, I think, the perfect send off because it's all about caring.
Yeah.
If you care about yourself, you care about the future, you care about helping out everybody else, you're doing what is a public service. As long as you continue to care, you're going to go a long way. And we are here to help you and try to make that as easy and as effective for you as possible. But you got to make sure you always care. Be careful about getting complacent. You can go ahead and always progress. Even if you have setbacks, you can come back, but keep on caring and we'll help you the entire way.
Yeah, very true. And a last one, just for the rule, like, just the last one. I always try to become better. You can see my Instagram stuff. I last time I did some knife throwing, and now I just kind of discovered that's weird because wrestling is very popular, kind of, right? You can find wrestling stuff everywhere, and I'm very much into moving, being able to move my body in 3 dimensions, like an acrobat, like a gymnast, and a wrestler. But more wrestler because it's a mix of an acrobat and gymnast with a martial artist. And now now I can do the bridge. I could not do the bridge at all. And I try to discover my capabilities, even though I can tell you what, I pushed my body very much. I played a high level sports in a very complete sports that is football, but I figured I have the lack of mobility strengthen some part of my body, and now I can do bridge all around. And this is stuff never I thought about. And when you test yourself, it becomes a challenge. It becomes fun. And I even myself challenge myself all the time. I try to push my limits and try to find a way to use these skills in my everyday life. And I think it helps me for obstacle course to become better, to vault more easily, to crawl faster, and so on, and maybe to carry heavier at the same time if I need to. Uh,
Mhm.
so I always push my limits. Everybody should do it. I think this is Socrates that says that it is a shame for a man to not experience or push his body through his life to understand what how capable is the body. It's something like this. I don't have the proper words, but we have a machine that can accomplish so much stuff, and I think it's sad to not experience it ourselves. It doesn't mean it has to be everything at the same time, but there is different chapters in life. And I'm in my 30s, and I feel better than in my 20s, where most guys after 30 say, I'm 30 years old, I'm too old for this kind of stuff. You should be at your best, you strongest ever. And even 40s now 40s is the new 30s, they say. Um, so yeah, very interesting how much the body and mind is capable to push. And yeah, so well, just let me see what I say. Remember, if you think you need help, go find it. Things will be better. Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's really up to you to
Mhm.
commit, to carry, to care about yourself and others. It's up to you. We cannot do the job for you. That's the thing. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So if you need help and everything, sometimes it's as simple as going to a community group and training. So like Wesley was here in the chat earlier, and he has a group, Police Training Vancouver. So if you're in that area, it's free training, helping you prep for a POPAT, or just getting some camaraderie and people who are like-minded and trying to better themselves. And that's a really good avenue that's undervalued for too many situations. It goes into, we were talking about earlier, about competing, finding people to go ahead and work with, and that team aspect is huge, because that's what law enforcement is. It's a team. A really sad example of that is that very recently there was a Pennsylvania state trooper near me who was shot and killed on the job. But the outpouring of support that came from surrounding states came in because we are all in this completely and utterly together. Team aspect is huge. And so if
Yeah.
you can go ahead and find people to be on your team, you are in the right place.
And it's accountability. It forces you to show up not just for yourself but for your
Mhm.
team. And I love it, and it's very important to surround yourself with the right people, and sometimes to leave the other one that don't want to do the job on the side. It's just sad thing, but this is important to understand. We are not all meant for that kind of job. We are
Mhm.
not all meant to be an auto entrepreneur, to be a police officer, and police officer is one of the most difficult job I would say in the world right now. Like, you have to be physically fit, mentally fit, having huge social skills in a world where everybody is sensitive as F, uh, and can take things, and you are taped all the time. And geez, man, I respect law enforcement a lot, and that's why I bring some training to them to help them and to manage this stressful situation. Talking about the training with Vancouver Police training, I'll be there. It's going to be the 4th of April, trying to give another kind of training, a bit different, where communication going to be very central part of it. It's going to be very cool to see. Thanks to Wesley to put me into the as a leader with that. So it's going to be very cool. Um, and following with a knife defense the next day. But yeah, find a team, find a group, ask question, ask who's in, who's not. It's very easy to. We are in a connected world where it's so easy to get in touch with people. So there is no excuse to send a message, to post a message on a group in your community, or even to create a group where you can welcome people. And Wesley is in the chat right now, but I think he's a good example with that, where you have sorry, it has more than, I don't know how many members. I think there is more than 200, if I'm not mistaken. From what I've seen,
Yeah.
it's huge. And I see there is a minimum of 20 people each session.
Mhm.
Um,
Even if it's raining, like I've seen a bunch of times where it's been raining, the weather is dreary, and they're still out there doing their thing.
yeah.
It is a
So
true testament to
accountability, it
training.
brings you strength to and motivation to still go whatever it is, and no excuse. Like rain is rain. When you're gonna be fully equipped after 8 hour shift, and you still have like 4 hours left, it's gonna rain, it's gonna be cold. You will have to answer the call. So if you don't train in this kind of situation, like what's going on? Apple Sport BC also has a group that works out every Sunday morning. That's very good to know, and good
Good.
job, guys. I'm sure you can get it with Wesley, get in touch with Wesley, uh, and maybe join the next session coming up, the fourth. I'd like to see you guys and meet you. I have an AF defense the next day in Langley Judo Club. Um, but again, I don't want to speak about just locally, but you can find someone with training provider
Mhm.
or a free group anywhere you are. It's just about doing the step, and you're going to be surprised how many groups there is around.
Very cool. All
Yeah,
right, then I think we've gotten pretty close to that 2 hour
yeah,
mark. And for you guys who have actually stuck around this whole time, I'm
yeah.
impressed
Thank
and
you,
I
guys.
commend you and thank you.
Uh, do you want to close with a quick social media follow up? How they can get in touch with us? You want to start?
Sure. So I am Adaptable Strength on all platforms. So Instagram, Adaptable Strength, YouTube, Adaptable Strength, website, adaptablestrength.com. And you can find a good kind of unifying source is actually going to be the Instagram itself. There's a link tree for various things. Uh, yeah, you can even find like an ebook that I wrote. It's all about trying to figure out how to make training and fitness, nutrition, all of that more approachable when you have a crazy life. It's designed for first responders. It's what I had to do when I was one. But it's practical, simple, and it just lays it all out for you. It is not a training program. It is how to set up a system to allow you to do what works for you.
Awesome. Well, and about MLK abilities, same. Instagram mostly, Facebook as well, YouTube. We have a newsletter where you can have actually a discount code you can get once you sign up to attend any course we offer, whatever it is, tactics, boot camps, fitness, whatever it is. I have 3 different accounts because of the type of content I share, especially with firearms and social media. It becomes tough to get some visibility. So there is MLK Abilities, MLK Abilities Elite, which is more tactical and first responder account, and there is Okanagan Wars Adventure, which is the obstacle course page. And we're gonna actually have a race coming up in July. Think about a Spartan race, but better. We're gonna have some shooting with laser guns from Pentathlon Canada and backed up with the Federation of Obstacle Course of Canada. So July 4th and 5th, many courses release every so often between tactics, boot camps coming up in September as well with the commando experience. But yeah, the best is the newsletter, so you can follow what's coming up. There is a pro access newsletter as well, where you have to ask access to. Not very hard to get in it, but I want to make sure I have the right information and knowing who is in that newsletter because it's for first responders. So as soon as we have a CQB course, for an example, or shooting course, you're going to be notified about it because we do less advertisement on social media for this type of course. Um, yeah, give a follow, subscribe. YouTube channel, as I say, MLK Abilities Podcast, available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So the YouTube one is the video, like you can see me and one of my partner, Richard, and other invitees, where you can also find this webinar again to share. We're going to see with Alex where we share it and how to how to access it. But yeah, you can keep in touch. I share more knowledge on this podcast, more than on the post on social media, obviously. But again, and if you want to get in touch with me, go through these different platforms and feel free to reach out. And I hope to see you in person to train and become the best version of yourself.
Cool. All right, then we are going to sign off. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you taking the time to care with us.
Thank you, guys, and stay safe.
In the next episode,
spot the alpha and deal with him, no one else. Whatever is you have to try to negotiate or to hit hard and run. Usually, as you say, when you hit hard and run, you never follow because they're not courageous.